Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. President Donald Trump is threatening to take legal action against author Michael Wolff and the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, insisting a newly released trove of Epstein-related files clears him of all wrongdoing. Democrats believe they are getting their mojo back as the midterm season heats up, and they're basing that on the latest Fox News survey that says Democrats are leading Republicans on the generic congressional ballot by a considerable 6 points, 52 to 46%, according to the Fox News, the latest Fox News Commission poll. We have the details for you. Should we be worried yet? And former CNN host Don Lemon is portraying himself as a persecuted journalist in a Substack post, quoting the Bible while responding to his arrest on federal charges stemming from an anti-ICE protest at a Minnesota church. And we have cold weather advisories up and down the eastern seaboard and over parts of the country, with New York City seeing the longest prolonged freeze in decades. We have the latest winter weather forecast for you in today's show as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Duke Energy of the Carolinas says extremely cold temperatures, 10 to 20 degrees below normal, are driving unusually high energy demands across the Carolinas. The power provider is asking all Carolinas customers to voluntarily reduce their energy consumption through at least 10 a.m. this morning and further if you can. This would help lessen the energy demand on the grid and reduce potential of temporary power outages. Cold weather advisory will be in effect until 9 a.m. this morning. Very cold wind chills, as low as 5 to 10 below zero across the North Carolina mountains, as low as 5 to 12 degrees below zero east of the mountains expected, and very, very cold in the upstate as well. Black ice is a big concern. Every bit of that slush, as the temperatures got slightly above freezing yesterday, has turned into solid ice as the temps dropped overnight. We're going to see the same thing again tonight. Slick spots will redevelop very quickly. So, dangerous morning wind chill. Otherwise, we'll have tons of sunshine today. Warmer highs in the upper 30s to low 40s. Again, there'll be some melting, so that runoff will refreeze tonight. Then tomorrow, frigid start with lows in the teens and 20s, mostly cloudy. Rain showers developing through the afternoon potentially, as some of that could turn into a wintry mix across the upstate, but primarily in western North Carolina. Accumulations not expected, but still something to be watching for. And then Wednesday, morning rain showers again. Thursday, tons of sunshine, high in the 40s in the upstate northeast Georgia and upper 30s to low 40s in western North Carolina. Friday's going to be nice and warm again. So as we head into the end of the week, we're going to get back to somewhat normal weather for February. It's hard to believe we're in February, isn't it? Over the weekend, President Trump went on to on the record. He's aboard Air Force One, talking to the journalist aboard, traveling with him, responding to the Justice Department's release of more than 3 million pages of Epstein-related documents and email. 3 million. It's not a leak. That's a data dump. Here's the key headline the legacy media doesn't seem real excited about. those documents do not show criminal or inappropriate conduct by President Donald Trump. They're very disappointed. In fact, according to Trump and confirmed by DOJ officials, the material does the opposite. It clears him. Now, you wouldn't know that if you just kind of skim social media or you watch the usual suspects on cable news, because for years, Epstein's name has been weaponized politically, primarily against Donald Trump. Guilt by association, smears by implication. Say the name enough times, put Trump's name in the same paragraph, and hope something sticks. So far, it hasn't. This time, it didn't either. President Trump told reporters that what emerged from the latest file suggests author Michael Wolff, the Michael Wolff who, the Fire and Fury guy, was actively conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to damage Trump politically. Now, think about that for a minute. According to the emails reviewed by Fox News, Wolff was advising Epstein back in early 2016, right in the heat of the presidential campaign, on how to spin a counter-narrative to James Patterson's book, Filthy Rich, which detailed Epstein's crimes. What was Wolff's advice? Make it about Donald Trump. One email has Wolff telling Epstein, quote, Trump offers an ideal opportunity. It's a chance to make the story about something other than you. This guy is coaching Jeffrey Epstein and, again, trying to take down Donald Trump in the process. In plain English, use Trump as a distraction. Another line is even more revealing. Wolff tells Epstein that becoming anti-Trump would give him, quote, political cover. Political cover for Jeffrey Epstein. Wow. That's damage control for a criminal. And Trump did not mince words. The president called Wolff a third-rate writer, said there's high likelihood he will sue both Wolff and the Epstein estate for conspiring to harm him politically. Now, the good news is it didn't work. And that's what has the Democrats standing on their heads. Because here we are, Donald Trump back in the White House for a second term, and it's still not sticking. But those who are involved, boy, there's a lot of people trembling in their shoes right now. Ask yourself this. If these emails had shown even a hint, just a hint, of wrongdoing by Trump, would we ever hear the end of it? And would he have ever been elected the first time? You know, so often I see all these comments on social media. Yeah, what about Trump? I have liberal, I'm going to say friends loosely, who will always bring this up in their comments. Well, release all the Epstein files. Release the Epstein files. Well, you know, that's their argument now is that they're picking and choosing what they release, which is just not true. But they want it to be because so far of the thousands and thousands and thousands, this last case, 3 million pages of Epstein-related documents, none of it implicates Donald Trump. They can't stand it. Now, if it did, it'd be wall-to-wall coverage, panels, special reports, breathless breaking news chyrons. But instead, the emails show Epstein doing his best to disparage Donald Trump, never accusing him of criminal behavior or inappropriate contact with victims. That's not Trump's claim. That's coming from Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Todd Blanche told Fox News Epstein never suggested Trump did anything criminal. That's a fact. And yet, Chuck Schumer is out there accusing the Trump administration of an Epstein cover-up. Now, what exactly are they covering up? Documents were just released, emails that contradict years of insinuation, of accusation. And this is where credibility matters. For nearly a decade, certain writers, activists, politicians have tried to tie Trump to Epstein by implication alone, despite the president famously banning Epstein from Mar-a-Lago and cooperating with investigators years ago. He always has. Now we find out that behind the scenes, one of Trump's loudest critics may have been collaborating with Epstein himself, coaching him to manipulate public perception because he hated Donald Trump. He didn't want to see Donald Trump be elected the first time. Suddenly, silence. The mainstream media, you would think that this would be a breaking story. None of them want anything to do with it. CNN has gone the opposite direction. And here's the bigger issue. This isn't just about Donald Trump. This is about how narratives are manufactured, literally. How political hit jobs are dressed as journalism. How facts are ignored when they don't serve the left's agenda. 3 million documents get released, and the takeaway isn't what did we learn, is how do we spend this? And what are they hiding? What are they holding back? To some people, and I'm going to go back to some of these people that I loosely call friends on social media. They have friended me, and they post, and I try to respond to them. There's nothing, I don't care how many documents the DOJ ever releases, they're always going to believe that they're holding something back, that there's something that they're not releasing that implicates Donald Trump, because they just can't believe that Donald Trump was not guilty of something. They'll always think he was guilty of something, and there's nothing we can do. I don't care how many millions of documents are released to ever satisfy those folks. Joey Hudson here. You tried keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting. You lose weight, then it comes right back. You blame yourself, your willpower, your discipline. But here's the truth. It was never about willpower. There's one thing that determines whether your body burns fat or stores it, and if you don't fix that first, every diet will fail. At PhD Weight Loss, they identify that one thing, and they build a plan that works with your body, not against it. And if you call now, you're going to get 2 weeks free in the program, and they'll pay for your food so you can finally see real answers without more trial and error. If you've done the yo-yo dieting and want clarity, call PhD Weight Loss now and mention Joey Hudson. No more guessing, just answers. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Say Joey Hudson. That's 864-644-1900. Also find them online at myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Do it once and for all. Lose the weight the right way by calling PhD Weight Loss today. While we're talking about the left and the journalists on the left, or the so-called journalists, the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs, the man who disrupted a church service a few weeks back in the name of protesting ICE operations is now quoting scripture in his defense. Former CNN host Don Lemon is casting himself as a persecuted journalist in a Substack post that went up over the weekend, quoting the Bible while responding to his arrest last week on federal charges stemming from an anti-ICE protest at the Minnesota church in St. Paul. Mr. Lemon, who was released without bail on Friday, says he was acting as a journalist, while prosecutors allege he coordinated with activists who disrupted services at City's church. We saw the video for ourselves, didn't we? We saw Don Lemon initially deny he had anything to do with the coordination of it, only later to admit that, well, yeah, I was with the group prior to. I did follow them over there. I did go into the church ahead of them so I could document everything. Lemon wrote, quoting John 8:32, there's a passage in Scripture that says the truth shall set you free. He's right. The truth will set you free, Mr. Lemon. But it does not say it will protect you from cages, he said. It does not say it will spare you from the consequences of seeing too clearly. It does not say it will make the powerful comfortable. So now Mr. Lemon, who disrupted a church service, is now using Scripture to justify his actions. Lemon said he learned that lesson, not from theology, but from the experience, he said, writing that the government decided that my work as a journalist was not protected speech, but punishable. Again, Lemon, Lemon, as Tucker Carlson calls him. Mr. Lemon, you went far beyond anything remotely related as being a journalist. You were an activist agitator. You were right in the middle of this group. Now, throughout the post, Lemon likened his arrest to historic efforts to silence journalists and civil rights figures, writing that press freedom only exists so long as it does not challenge those in power. He wrote that America loves the idea of a free press, but only so long as journalism does not disturb comfort or expose what power would rather conceal, saying that the First Amendment exists to protect accountability, not convenience. Speaking of convenience, wow. Prosecutors say that Lemon, with conspiracy to deprive rights and a FACE Act violation stemming, they've charged him with those offenses from his involvement in the anti-ICE protests. Again, it disrupted church services in Minnesota. There was nothing peaceful about it. They went into that church with the intent of disrupting the service because one of the pastors has an association with ICE. Now, he drew attention, of course, after he live streamed the whole event. They entered St. Paul City's church. He has said that he was present in a journalistic capacity while the indictment alleges he coordinated with protest organizers prior to their arrival. That is true. We've seen video of that. We've also seen video of him confronting the pastor. Because he doesn't like the guy. He doesn't like the church. He doesn't like the idea that maybe this church are law-abiding Americans and they support what ICE is doing. Now, according to a federal affidavit dated January 20th, parishioners told investigators that agitators blocked stairwells and aisles inside the church, preventing parents from reaching children in a downstairs child care area and making it difficult for worshipers to leave the sanctuary. If that is not harassment, I don't know what is. If that's not intimidating, if that's not domestic terrorism, what is? They're keeping those parents. Now, keep in mind, you have no idea. You're a parent. Your kid's downstairs. This group storms into your church service, knowing some of the history in past years of what has happened in churches, shootings, mass shootings. These parents had no idea what was about to happen, who these people were. They want to get to their kids. They want to get out of the building. What do these agitators do? They block them. They won't let them leave. One parishioner reported fearing the agitators may have been armed after hearing shouting that sounded like the word shoot. But could they go get their child? No. Other churchgoers described agitators yelling in the faces of parishioners, including women and young children, causing some children to cry. Well, of course they cried. Those young kids will never forget that. I'm sure that parents right now are having to deal with nightmares, sleepless nights, because these kids were in a place that they thought was safe. And this idiot, Don Lemons, and these agitators show up. It makes me angry. And I know I shouldn't get angry about it, to think about it, that they were allowed to do that. And now Don Lemons is quoting scripture, trying to make himself out as another Martin Luther King or something in the name of civil rights. One woman fell and was injured as worshipers fled through a side exit that they had not blocked. She should sue them all. She should sue Don Lemon as a journalist covering, but keeping her from leaving a building safely. The affidavit alleges the group entered the church in a coordinated manner, disrupted the service, and intimidated parishioners, forcing it to be cut short. During the incident, video reviewed by investigators shows a church pastor asking one individual to leave the building, saying he needed to take care of my church and my family. Did they leave? No, they did not. They just kept up the heat. They kept their screaming, their marching, their shouting, their intimidation. The pastor appeared visibly distressed as activists continued to confront him, according to the affidavit. You and I saw the video because Don Lemon was there to record it for us. So despite those allegations, despite the video that we saw, his own video of the pastor looking very distressed when Don Lemon was confronting him, Lemon compared his arrest to the treatment of civil rights leaders. And journalists, he said, were punished for challenging power. He cited Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, James Baldwin. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't think Dr. Martin Luther King would approve of what Don Lemon did that day. Do you? Text me. Email me. Joey at joeyhudson.com. You know, the liberal elite have just really been pretty beside themselves over President Trump doing a number of things at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. It's the premier performing arts center in the nation. And, of course, President Trump, like all presidents, has appointed members of the Board of Trustees. Those members of the trustees voted not too long ago to add Donald Trump's name to the Kennedy Center. Now, it's still called the Kennedy Center, but it has Donald Trump, President of the United States, on the building as well. They hate it. And you may recall in the a few weeks back when they had the big annual performance and gala. I mean, it was great. I watched it on TV. But the liberal media, still, it wasn't good enough for them. Well, he's the president has just pushed them over the ledge now, as he announced on True Social yesterday that the Trump Kennedy Center will close later this year for a 2-year period. Going to close it down for 2 years for renovations. In a post, he said he has decided to halt entertainment operations as the fastest way to bring the Trump Kennedy Center to the highest level of success, beauty, and grandeur. With a planned grand reopening, he said, would surpass any previous iteration of the venue. According to the president, the center will close on July the 4th of this year after a big celebration, coinciding, of course, with the nation's 250th anniversary, at which point construction will begin on what he described as a new and spectacular entertainment complex. Now, you know, some of the artists who have been scheduled to appear have canceled because of Trump's involvement. And even though they had contracts to perform, they just said, we're not coming. We're not going to perform there anymore. And the left has celebrated that. They've thought it was okay. Now, wait and see. There's going to be an uproar among those same people saying, well, you just can't cancel the performances for the rest of the year. You can't do that. There are contracts in place. What you want to bet they're going to do that? They're going to be claiming that. What you want to bet that they're going to be claiming that, well, you can't close it down because of contractual obligations with performers. Wait, let's wait. Let's watch this. Let's talk politics, polling, perspective, midterm elections as we're getting ready to kick that campaign off. I mean, here we are, beginning of February. Campaigns are going to ramp up. We're going to start looking towards that June 9th primary as campaigns are gearing up for the November 2026 elections. Democrats are looking pretty good right now, or they think. They're back. Democrats have their mojo. They see a wave of election victories coming. I say let's slow down a bit. Now, Democrats are feeling pretty good right now because there's a Fox News poll just released that has them puffing out their chest. They're celebrating. According to the survey, Democrats are leading Republicans on the so-called generic congressional ballot by 6 points, 52 to 46. The highest number Democrats have ever posted in this particular Fox News poll. And immediately, you see the spin machines fire up. The Democrat Congressional Committee, confidently, arrogantly, Democrats are taking back the House in November. We've heard this song before. We've watched this movie before. And granted, in fairness, typically, the party who's in the White House is the party that loses midterms. Let's see if we can buck that trend, though. Let's unpack a bit what's really going on here, because polls tell you something, but never the whole story. Democrats are claiming big advantages on affordability. They probably have a point there. Healthcare, helping the middle class, they say. Even taxes, and yes, transgender issues where the poll shows them way ahead. I don't quite understand that one. That alone should tell you something about how the questions were framed and which voters were being motivated because of that transgender. I don't know many Americans who support that, okay? Now, Republicans still lead on border security by a solid 15 points, by the way. National security, Republicans lead everything, any question that had anything to do with immigration, Republicans lead. The deficit, Republicans lead. I'm not sure why, because unfortunately some of our Republicans have been big spenders too, but they do, according to the poll. In other words, Democrats are winning on messaging. Republicans are winning somewhat on reality. And let's talk about that distinction, because here's the real warning sign for Republicans. President Trump's approval among independents is underwater. If you look at a number of polls across the board, by about 40 points in this poll, though. That's not nothing. That's a flashing yellow light in this particular poll. Now, the president himself acknowledged it last week in an interview, saying presidents, Republican or Democrat, almost always lose seats in the midterm. He's right. Voters want a guard fence, as he put it, a check on power. History backs that up. Since 1938, the party controlling the White House has lost House seats in all but 2 midterms. That's not ideology. That's real reality. We don't have a lot of seats to lose. It'd be one thing if we had this massive majority so that we could lose a few but maintain that majority. We don't have that. Republicans are also coming off some tough off-year elections. Democrats flipped a Texas state Senate seat by 14 points in a district that President Trump won handily in 2024. They cleaned up in Virginia, in New Jersey, and other 2025 races by hammering an anti-Trump affordability-focused message. Again, it's the old James Carville, it's the economy, stupid. And as good as things are going, as good as the direction is headed, people are still hurting financially. Rents are still high. Groceries are still high. Yes, fuel is down, but it's still higher than people want it to be. So, yes, Democrats are energized. They smell blood, whether it's really there or not. That's the message they're telling their own. That's the message they're trying to convince themselves of. But here's where that narrative is a little weak. It wobbles a bit. First, money. Despite all this momentum, Democrats are getting crushed financially. The Democrat National Committee has $14 million cash on hand and $17.5 million in debt. They can't even pay off what they spent last time. That's being upside down, underwater. Meanwhile, the Republican National Committee is sitting on more than $95 million in cash and zero debt. Zero. You don't win modern elections on vibes and mojo alone. Ground games cost money. You got to spend money on ads. Lawsuits cost money, and there'll be lawsuits challenging different election rules. Ballot operations cost money. Republicans have a massive edge when it comes to that. Now, look at the context. Democrats are currently up by 4.8 points in the Real Clear Politics polling average. At this same point in 2018 in the midterm cycle, the so-called blue wave, Democrats were up more than 7 points. And yes, they won big in 2018, but the House map looks very different today. Gerrymandering is more aggressive. Districts are more locked in. Massive swings are harder. This isn't a clean wave environment. We're talking about a knife fight, a man-to-man combat here. Third, and this is the big one, turnout. Generic ballots don't vote, voters do. You got to have a group of enthusiastic voters to get out and show up at the polls. I'm not necessarily seeing that with the Democrats. Are you? They're still somewhat defeated by the loss in 2024. Yes, they hate Donald Trump, but they also are disappointed, and they blame a lot of the Democrat Party leaders, the Chuck Schumers, the James Clyburns of the world, and I'm not so sure that they are going to be enthusiastically showing up this year. Special elections, off-year races, they sometimes skew towards motivated activists. Midterms bring out a broader electorate, older voters, suburban voters, working-class voters. It's a little closer to what you see in a presidential election year. Many of these care a lot about crime, inflation, and the border, immigration. And that's where Republicans still have a real argument if they make it, if they can get their narrative out there, tell their story. So here's the bottom line. Yes, Democrats have momentum in the polls. Yes, Republicans face real headwinds, and yes, President Trump is going to campaign aggressively to keep the House in GOP hands. But this race is far from over. It's why you and I have to do our jobs. We have to work harder than we've ever worked because we can't afford to lose in 2026. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. It was a cold weekend, and boy, what a beautiful snow, right? I mean, it was just fluffy, just like snow is supposed to be, and not all that ice that we had last weekend. Duke Energy of the Carolinas says extremely cold temperatures, 10 to 20 degrees below normal, are driving an unusually high energy demand across the Carolinas. The power provider is asking all Carolinas customers to voluntarily reduce their energy use until around 11 a.m. this morning to help lessen the energy demand on the grid and reduce the potential of temporary power outages. In a statement yesterday, Duke Energy says reducing your thermostat to the lowest comfortable setting will help. Avoid using major appliances like washing machines, clothes dryers, dishwashers until later today. Turning off any unnecessary devices, unused plug-ins and lights. Electric vehicle owners charging midday when demand is lower. So don't charge your EV. Wait till later. Hope you don't have to go anywhere this morning. In a statement, they said, we know it's inconvenient to reduce electric use, but it makes a real difference. Gerald Wilson, Duke Energy Vice President of Grid Operations, says we're taking every step to meet our customers' energy needs, including maximizing our generation and purchasing power and working with large commercial and industrial customers who have demand response programs. We appreciate our customers' cooperation, patience, and understanding as we work to maintain reliable service across the Carolinas. Cold weather advisory is in effect throughout today. Very cold, wind chills as low as 5 to 10, 12 degrees below across the North Carolina mountains. 5 to 12 degrees area east of the mountains are expected. It's very, very cold out there, folks. Again, if you don't need to be out, don't. Black ice, every bit of that slush that we saw yesterday, and we'll see again today, as the temperatures do warm up a little above, as they warmed up above freezing yesterday, they just have refrozen. They're going to do the same thing today. Dangerous morning wind chills. We are going to have lots of sunshine, and it will get in the 30s, lower 40s, but again, that's just going to melt and refreeze tonight. Tomorrow, frigid start with lows in the teens and 20s. Going to be cloudy, and get this, maybe some rain showers develop through the afternoon tomorrow. Some possible wet snow and a winter mix in some areas. No accumulation expected, but just a bad time to have this. Then Wednesday, more rain showers, and Thursday, lots of sunshine, back in the mid-40s in the upstate northeast Georgia, upper 30s, low 40s as we head into the weekend Friday, the warmest day of the week. Sunny, highs in the mid-50s, and the weekend, tons of sunshine, and it's going to be dry again, 40s and 50s. So there is light at the end of the tunnel as far as the weather. According to the Post and Courier, South Carolinians could receive hundreds of millions of dollars in property and income tax cuts this year, with State House Republicans making a strong push during this session that coincides with the election season that we just talked about, the midterms. The longer implications of those cuts are yet to be decided, though. Now, I've had a number of different legislators on over the past several weeks as we kicked off this legislative session, many of them saying that there is an appetite for some form of tax decreases. Representative John McCravey, for one, he's a proponent of eliminating property taxes, for example, for senior citizens. Now, one of the proposals, which has passed the state house, would significantly reduce the state's top income tax rate of 6% down to a lower flattened rate for all taxpayers. According to the Post and Courier, the move would reduce state revenues by an estimated $119 million in 2026-27 budget cycle, this according to budget analysts. Now, the other proposal, a reimagining of the state's homestead property tax exemption, would triple the allowable benefit for South Carolina residents 65 years or older. Again, Representative McCravey at one point had said he'd like to see those eliminated altogether. Now, it would go up from a $50,000 reduction in the taxable value on homes for those 65 and over to $150,000, but only allow seniors with 5 years of residency to access it. So you can't move into the state to take advantage of this. You got to be here for 5 years, and I'm okay with that. What about you? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY. It would also be expensive, leaving the state with just under $259 million in estimated lost revenue per year to implement, according to those same budget analysts. There's also a sizable small business property tax cut currently circulating in the state house that would provide businesses with up to $10,000 in deductions on assets like desk chairs, machinery, that will reduce revenues by currently undetermined amount. We don't know yet. Now, at a combined value of $377 million, it's nowhere near the record $1 billion in tax rebates included in Governor McMaster's 2022 budget that he talked with us about in his State of the State last week. But it could be a significant reduction in how much South Carolina takes in every year. Harvey Peeler, Republican from Gaffney, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee, said, "You cannot out-tax cut Harvey Peeler." We're going to hold you to that, Senator. "We see the House's cuts on income tax and now property tax. That's what we've heard from all of our constituents is all too much, but property tax is the big one," he said. Now, the Post and Courier writes the totality of the tax cuts only represents about 40% of the approximate $939.1 million in new money identified in Governor McMaster's proposed budget this year, meaning the cuts aren't nearly enough to significantly impact the budget. Governor McMaster's proposal also accomplishes a number of desired policy priorities, again, according to the Post and Courier, including a plan for free breakfast for South Carolina school children, while leaving hundreds of millions of dollars in headroom to save for the future, again, according to those budget analysts. It's enough to leave legislative leaders confident that they can continue with these cuts. Peeler told reporters he is optimistic both cuts could be accounted for in the coming state budget, while House budget writers say they are likely to go along with the Senate's plans. House Majority Whip Brandon Newton, he said, "I don't want to commit anything, but we do support the general concept, and I think we're going to try to plan around it when we do the budgeting process." I like this talk, don't you? I mean, when we continue year after year to have $1 billion in surplus, it's time to give that money back to South Carolinians. Better yet, don't even have us send it in. Let us keep it. Stop allowing us to have to pay these high income taxes, property taxes, to send it to Colombia or wherever only to get it back. Money can go fast. I mean, they can spend money like crazy. There's a lot of things being kicked around. Raising teachers' starting pay by $2,000 a year. I'm okay with that. Meeting new federal anti-fraud requirements for SNAP under the big, beautiful bill. That's going to cost some money, too. So, in other words, there's a lot of work to be done, but I like what they're saying. We'll see. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.